So this is a vocal editing video where we're going to look at Logic Pro X's flex pitch and flex time.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know. But you tell me something's wrong, and I wouldn't know what to do. If I could read minds, then maybe I'd be the one for you. I need
So this is the untuned vocal, and we're just going to work on a couple of the beginning phrases of the song. Okay, so we're going to select an initial part of the vocal to tune. Click on the sand timer, or what looks like a sand timer, turn on flex. And then we've got different flex options. We're going to go with flex pitch. So I'm going to highlight this section of vocal that we're working on, and that's in order to apply some automatic pitch correction to the overall phrase. Okay, so I'm going to drag over the section that we're working on, apply roughly 85% of the automatic pitch correction, just so that we've got a baseline to work from later. We'll see how that sounds.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
Okay, so that's made some initial improvements.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
I think potentially we could apply a little bit more of the automatic pitch correction. Maybe 90%. And try that.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking.
You'll notice I'm starting to play with the vibrato. The vibrato is essentially the movement that the singer has between two different semitones or two different notes. So I'm just going to reduce that a little and see how that works.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're.
Where the vocalist says air, that feels a little bit flat. So I'm just tweaking the fine pitch, which is movement between two semitones, but not quite a full semitone.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
And on the two phrases before, I think the vibrato is maybe still a bit too excessive, so we'll reduce that slightly.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're. Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're.
Air still doesn't feel quite right. I'm going to try tweaking fine pitch before potentially resorting to actually bringing the whole note up by a semitone or two. But what we can find sometimes doing that is it may warble the vocal.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're.
Okay, so maybe just one semitone up.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're.
Vibrato reduced.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know. Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking. Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back. Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
Okay, so I think that works quite well now.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
Yeah, small reduction on the end part of the phrase, you know. Okay, so we move into flex time. Choose monophonic because it's a mono audio source. And there's events that are automatically generated at the start of each transient.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're.
And essentially, we can apply quantize to the grid.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking.
Just by dragging them, they'll snap to grid lines.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're. Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
It just gives a little bit more snap to that, particularly that middle, quicker section of vocal.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know. Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
What we can also do is add events just by clicking on the region and then remove them by hitting the cross if flex time doesn't automatically generate events that we want.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're.
Still not quite happy with where the vocalist says air, so I'm just playing with the fine pitch a little more.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back.
And then just reducing the vibrato also.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute.
There's this initial part before he says the word air, where he goes up in pitch.
Sitting on the sofa, you hair tied back, you're looking cute, you know.
And corrected that by 100%.
But you tell me something's wrong.
So moving into the next phrase, we can hear that's a little flat already. I've just selected all of the phrase and pitch corrected by 90%, I'm just going to tweak the vibrato slightly as well, and see how that works as an initial step.
Will you tell me?
So still a little bit flat, just going to drag that up by one semitone.
Will you tell me something's wrong? Will you tell me something's wrong?
I think that sounds better. Moving into the next part.
And I wouldn't know what to do if.
Okay, so that feels a little flat. Tune that by 90%.
And I wouldn't know what to do if.
So I think that sounds much better. You can hear at the end of the phrase, he kind of pitch bends up.
And I wouldn't know what to do if.
So I'm just going to reduce vibrato across the phrase and then come back to that in a moment.
And I wouldn't know what. And I wouldn't know what to do.
Okay, so in terms of tuning, I think that works really well. This pitch drift is going to allow us to exaggerate that pitch bend up.
And I wouldn't know what to do if.
And that leads us nicely into the next phrase. In summary, we can use flex pitch in order to manipulate the overall tuning of a vocal line. So we've got an automatic pitch correction tool. We've got the ability to adapt vibrato, so we get less of that exaggerated wobble between different notes. We've got pitch drift to allow us to exaggerate a pitch bend between two different vocal phrases. And we've also got the ability to use the fine pitch tool, which allows us those finer movements between semitones when we don't feel that we quite need to move a particular word or vocal line up an entire semitone or down an entire semitone. In addition, we've got the ability to use flex time, so essentially allowing us to quantize audio. Obviously, quantizing it too far can start to introduce audio artifacts, so negative side effects, which we don't want to end up in our final vocal line. But using it slightly can just improve the overall timing, add a little bit of snappiness to the vocal in order to help it move towards a commercially viable result. So really that's the basics of vocal editing using Logic Pro X's flex time and flex pitch. Thanks for listening.